Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. And this is your intrepid host, Mr. David Noam, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers. And I greet you with honor, blessings, and goodness from the universe, from me to you, and from the universe to you. Why should it go through me? But I wish it upon you. I wish blessings and honor to you. Now, as some of you who are my subscribers channel, and blessings to all of you, my friends. And I consider you my dear friends. I do, because of the connection we've all have seemed to have made at some point. Recently, there's a it it I watched things in the news. Here we go again. There's something flying in my house that it's not a moth. It just flew past again. There's no moth in the house. And there was something that was just right in here, a dark spot. Interesting. It happened yesterday. Now that little one there, that came in front of me, but the other one, there aren't any moths in the house. And the one that I saw yesterday, by the way, when I looked back and looked at its form, it looked just like a fairy. I mean, luminous and wings and a body. I mean, it looked in a way it looked like a giant moth, but it wasn't a moth. And in the video I did yesterday, I guess it was yesterday, and that I stood up and was like, "You see this? You know, it wasn't in the room, but the camera was picking it up, just like the cameras picked up several times um, orbs crossing in front of the screen or around me. So it's like I'm very much aware of the other realms, if you will, of different dimensions of the spirit world. I've discussed over many different videos, the pictures of orbs that I've taken, and the communications by the spirits that were there who gave me instructions on how to set the camera so I could take the pictures of the orbs. So I have had communication with these beings, at least in a limited way. And it's hard for people to accept these kinds of things. I know every time something shows up on the camera around me, and I think to myself, but there's nothing in the room that, there's not a moth that size in the house. I mean, I would see it flying around, but it shows up on the camera. And the cameras are in such a definition now, and the digital way that it picks it up. And it also has to do with the lighting, I found that bright lights, they don't really like it, and it's sort of like a phase shift, if you will. All right. Well, I hadn't started wanting to talk about things flying around behind me that aren't here in this 3D plane, but to the point, it does relate to the topic that is the discussion for this particular video. And here I go. Just going to jump in there with it. All right. There are many people who, and I was one of them. All right, that want to dabble with witchcraft or demonology or something like that. Now, I'm going to start off right here and say that in my early days, I was fascinated, and I still am, with the supernatural. And so I was first a Catholic, all the ceremony and everything, and blah blah blah. And I left the church, and then the next thing I did was they the attitude that I personally got was because of the four pedophile priests and so forth, and my reactions with the church, that if God existed, somehow he should have stepped in and stopped those four priests from what they did. Now, so then I kind of went from godliness to is the devil real? Are demons real? Because I had lost my faith as a Catholic and sort of as a Christian in a way, because I'm like, how can these things be allowed to happen? And so at the time, there were a lot of, B class movies and, the House of Dracula and all this, and they're all doing these satanic things and all. But it was like there was so much detail, and there still is in some of these movies. You got to wonder, where did they get their information? Did they just make it up? So, in my mind, and as a seeker of knowledge, I was like, okay. So I started going to university libraries and checking out their occult section, if you will. And I got a hold of some books. Of course, you couldn't check them out of the library, but, I made copies. I traced pictures. I copied things, in longhand for myself. And these were spells and conjurings. And when I found books and things on the subject and that I could afford, I had several books on witchcraft and sorcery and those kinds of things. And at one time, I went so far as to, I came very close to conjuring a demon. Not because I knew what to do or that I wanted that demon to do anything. I wanted to see if the magic was real, if the spell casting was real, if you went through the right steps and so forth, what would happen. And that's the last time I ever tried anything like that, because it was so real to me. This was in the 70s, by the way. It was so real to me, and the events that happened around it, I said, ain't touching this. Witchcraft and sorcery, wherever it is and whatever it is an energy or whatever. What do I need a demon for? What, to take over the world or to kill my enemy or something like that, No, 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 no. I mean, what do I want to call a spirit for? What do I need? And so it was like, well, I was doing it for the fun of it. But here's the trick. There's no fun in it. If you perform some of these old type rituals and these old type of spell castings, there's no fun in it. You must be very serious, or you're tinkering, as I did, with dark energy. Some would call it evil. I'm I may have said that in the past, but I have to reevaluate after these last 5 or 6 years of looking at what evil is versus dark energy. And I realize that there is some dark energy that's just dark. It's not necessarily evil. Now, the person who might be doing the conjuring or casting or cursing or whatever, their intent is what brings the evil into the dark energy. How about that one? So it's like the dark energy is all around us. It yin and yang, light and dark, okay, you get the idea. So, but with that though, the dark energy, is darkness evil? And the answer is no. Evil things happen in daylight just as well as nighttime. If anything, nighttime's more quiet and evil may stand out better, but evil happens in the daytime just as much, if not more, than the nighttime. So for folks who equate darkness with evil, you got to stay away from that, okay? Because of what I just said. And there are many other folks who will, collaborate, corroborate what I'm saying here, in that, darkness does not necessarily mean that it's evil. Dark energy is not necessarily evil in itself. It's how it's used. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Here's a footprint for this. So now, people who are just tinkering with things, do they have an evil intent? Not necessarily. Well, I will conjure up a spirit, and the three of you sit around a Ouija board, and you're doing stuff, and and somebody found a book or a spell online, and ooh, let's try this, and blah blah blah. And the thing is that depending on where you are, meaning that the location of where you do whatever it is you're doing may be a hotspot for spirits that you don't know about, and so you may be close to a energetic area, we'll say, of spiritual kind of stuff. And so there are going to be people who are like, well, I don't know about this. And, if you've ever messed with a Ouija board, I had to put the thing down years ago because I was like, whatever's pushing that thing around, whatever's going through me to make that thing do I realized that I didn't want it doing it to me. I mean, wait. And other folks are like, ooh, this is cool. Let's watch this, and you allow it. I resisted from the very beginning. I was like, wait a minute, this is creepy. Oh, no, come on, it's cool, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, my parents bought us a Ouija board for Christmas, but because it was touted as, oh, it's just a fun game. Well, so at an early age, I got in touch with spirits. Now, I have discussed my Mother Mary messages and the full apparition that I had of Mother Mary at the age of 11, and the subsequent uh, apparitions that I saw of her, my Mother Mary communications. And so I had those communications, and then I went, and when I left her, the Catholic Church and everything, and the priesthood, my whole world got destroyed. And I became homeless on the street, a drug addict in Tampa, high on LSD almost all the time for this particular period I'm discussing. And I tried working. I did work because it was the only way I could, buy the drugs that I wanted. But to the point, though, in my free time, I was higher than a kite, so high that there were times when I looked back on my life and said, that was just so freaking stupid. And how did I live through all that? I mean, you know, when people ask me, how many times have you tripped, Dave? And I'm thinking to myself, I used to do a hit of acid a day. I would cut up what they called blotter acid, little squares, and I would cut them in quarters, and I would take a quarter at a time so that I kept this high. So I never got to this peaky weirdness, but I was tripping. And I worked with people every day, and they just thought I was being odd. And I was like, yeah, I'm a little odd today, stayed up all night and kind of wired. I had a lot of coffee, but they didn't know that I was like, had already eaten a hit of acid that day. And that, I was working on some very important stuff. But anyway, but to the point though, so people had no idea. They may thought I was doing some speed or something, but they didn't know I was taking acid. Nobody knew. That was the only one. Well, I had one or two people that I knew back then, and we were like, you're going to take a quarter? Yeah. And we'd go in the bathroom and, but anyway, but to the point though. So there were times when I just went through regular life, but I was tripping balls, as folks call it. So, driving trucks, delivering stuff, working on heavy equipment, doing precision grinding. I mean, it didn't really matter for me. But at the same time, when folks ask me, well, how many times have you tripped? Well, I used to buy sheets of 50 hits of acid at the time. And I would sell 25, make my money back for the 50 that I bought, and save or eat or give away or trip with somebody the other 25. And this would happen every week or every other week. So, and that was back in the 70s. And then later on, I went through another spout. But to the point, when I sat down and was like, well, I don't know, let me see here. Well, I went through one, there was 25, 50, 75, 100, you know, probably I tripped 100 times in 6 months. Not seriously. I mean, I would take one in the morning and we'd go through the day, and somewhere in the afternoon, I'd take another hit. And, if we slept at all. So, but to the point though, in what I was doing, I began to see the veil was lifted between worlds. So yeah, I'm tripping. Yeah, but I'm seeing stuff. Do you see it? No. Okay. Well, I'm not tripping now. I'm not tripping the other night when I saw that thing behind me. I wasn't tripping the night that the orb came across the screen during my live stream. I'm like, okay. I wasn't tripping when I took pictures of the orbs and things. So what I saw then is what I'm taking pictures of now. This other realm, this other dimension, this whatever you wish to call it, whatever it is that's happening. Now I'm being allowed to take pictures of it and to show it to other people. So the answer to the how many times have I tripped? Well, with acid or mushrooms, I mean, I used to keep dried mushrooms all the time. So, if I was bored when I got off of work at night, I, I had dried mushrooms. Would just literally take a teaspoon and, stir it in some coffee or tea and drink it down, or drink it whole and chase it with a beer or whatever it was. So it's like, when I look back on my life, and I've had to admit this because, I wish to clear up all of my hidden corners on the inside, if you will. And I realized just how much of a junkie, I guess, in a lot of ways, and how many days and how many weeks and how many months and literally how many years I stayed not just stoned with marijuana, but I mean, just whacked out, slapped out on mushrooms, blotter acid. Didn't have, I've done peyote, but didn't have access to it. I've done mescaline and had access to some for a short period of time. Had different kinds of hashish, not the same. Uh, See, there's something flittering around right here, and there is no moth. There's nothing in my airspace, but something keeps showing up right here. There's no moth. It's okay. I'm just checking for myself because if it shows back up on the thing. So, but anyway, so I've been able to see the lifting of the veil. And as I look back on my life, I think to myself, wow, I was tripping a lot. Well, now I'm not tripping. Okay. Now I'm seeing these things in real life, or actually they're being reflected in the camera onto the screen. And for anybody who wishes to watch this or, see these beings appear in my house, it's like I understand that there is this other realm. Okay. Now, what does this have to do with casting of spells and so forth? Recently, with the nomination of Judge Kavanaugh, who's now a Supreme Court judge, there are people who are gathering together to do witchcraft and to do spells against this man. Now, it's not the first time, and there are other people that have been doing it, but let me give you a little bit of insight to this. Since I've dabbled in it, and witchcraft has always beguiled me in a way, but not to the point. Once I realized that I had the potential to actually conjure a demon, but my intent was, what the do I want with one? What am I going to do with it? And when I realized that the potential, and when the lights go out, the candles, and and you're sitting in the middle of the room and things are flying around, you go, okay, enough of this. I don't want any more. And so when you experience it for yourself, when you do the conjuring or the spell or whatever it is that you do, and it actually work or is going to work. In my case, I was trying to find something that was just like not too bad, Let me see if I can conjure demon in this double circle thing, blah, blah, blah. I just want to see if he'll come. Then I realized, he was on his way, and what was I going to do with him when I got there? But to the point, there are a lot of people with inquiring minds that want to know. So, as a person who has had the Mother Mary visions, I think that's what saved me from going any further. It was like, that's not what you're supposed to be doing, Dave. You can look at it. Dabbling in it is even wrong, because it's like, I have to be careful that if I'm looking at something and I'm doing research on something, if I read a spell or an incantation all the way through, I could literally, with my mind, somehow create what those words mean. So I read a line and I stop reading. Look over here, blah, blah, blah. And then I catch back up, because there has a lot to do with consistency, intent. There is a flow to it. It was like a chanting. Okay. So it's like, I understand that even just reading it can draw dark energy. So then I had to like really kind of put stuff down, and like, I can't even look at it because I realize what the potential is. Now, what does that have to do with now? I tell about my personal experiences because they're really real. Okay. And if you've hung out with seen any of my videos, I would ask you to go look at the ones where the orb is in the screen and everything, because it's like, it's there. Can't make that up. So I want you to trust me on this, in that those people who think they're doing something cool or whatever, they are dealing with an energy and an entity and a realm that is just, they don't know what they're doing. Now, if they go through with these incantations, if they succeed in their attempt, not that the spell will succeed, but they succeed in finishing the spell or the conjuring, whether it works for them or not, they have committed a dark energy. They put a dark energy hole in their soul, and they're marked forever. Now, you can wipe it out, but if you could see your soul and what it looked like and it's translucent, there's going to be a little spot. It might not be dark, but it's going to be gray or off-white. It's going to take eons to get rid of the fact that and if you do it on purpose, well, then you're really in for it. But practitioners of earth magic, which some would say is Wiccan, probably more Wiccan than not, and where people think, witchcraft is witchcraft. It's using dark energy. Okay. There's nothing in there that is good. Did you just see that drop again? There's nothing here. There's nothing between me and the camera for that thing to have just dropped in. I'm trying to. There's nothing here. I know it looks like moths, but there's nothing here. There's nothing in the. It's too cool. The temperature in the house is cold enough to where moths and mosquitoes and things aren't flying around now, because the temperature's dropped and things like that don't fly around when it gets too cool. Anyway, so interesting things in the house again, or still. But so with the Conjuring, so if these people really do have the intent, then they've got really large black spots on their souls, on their energy. And I must admit that I got to say that they're probably damned in so many words. Now, will they go to hell? No, but they're gonna have to wash that dark spot off their soul. And it's not because of what they do, it's what they call upon to achieve what they want. Now, there are these people who are, making sigils, which are marks and different things, and they're casting spells because they want this man dead. Now, what these people don't also understand that any offspring, especially a woman, and from what I understand, most of the participants of this particular thing were women. So it's like, whoa, boy, you actually, when that dark spot gets put in you because you're using the dark energy, that's basically what it is. It's not that it's an evil, it's that it's dark. And it is so dark, it will leave a blemish. The more you use it, the bigger the blemish, and the darker, the bigger the spot gets. It's not about evil because it's just simply dark energy until you put your intent into the dark energy, and then it becomes evil. Okay. Now, can you use dark energy for good? I would hesitate to say maybe not, but you could use the dark energy with less intent. Like, maybe somebody's beating you up or something or whatever. And so if you were to like conjure a protection spell, for example, you may use some dark energy not to harm someone, but to protect yourself. And so there are some of those who you can use white energy and it's even better. But to those folk who are in that realm of thought, they may use, quote, a touch of darkness to protect them. And it's like, well, okay, but if somebody comes to it or hits it or whatever, they're going to get zapped from here to eternity. So it's like, okay. So, but anyway, but if you're casting a spell, dip, and I'm here to tell you, there are folks who think that, well, I'm doing this because I want this person to love me. What? You want to do a love spell? So you're going to try to get this. Now, this is supposed to be white magic, okay? And there are Wiccan things and stuff because I've seen it and studied with it and so forth. And I look at this and I realize it's like you can't force anybody to do anything. I mean, if you like that boy over there or girl and you want to do, quote, a love potion or spell to attract them to you or to fall in love with you, if it's not supposed to be, then you actually just access dark energy because it's something they're not supposed to be. So folks who think, well, I want to raise. Well, okay, but I'm gonna say a prayer for, I'm gonna do this incantation. I'm gonna say these lines, burn a money candle, and but I'm using white magic. Well, but do you deserve the raise? Just asking. Most people who ask for them deserve it, or at least need them. Whether they deserve it or not. But to the point, though, it's like, but you're trying to force someone to do something that if you, there's a bunch of weirdness going on back there, that if they wished you to have a raise, you would have gotten it. Okay. So you're better off to use, quote, white magic, which would be more to say, you don't want to force them into giving you a raise. You simply want to have them look at you in a different perspective. Like, see, I have these talents over here. So what you would want rather than, gimme, 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 is to say, hey, look at the value of who I am. So you would actually do the spell upon yourself, which is like, it's not really a spell. It's just positive thought and how you carry yourself, your intent. The work is actually internal, not on the other person. But the intent that you have when you do your own work is to see if that person will notice you in a different light. And then when you ask for a raise or whatever, then it comes to you more natural. But if you're doing, burning candles, you're actually in that gray area. Well, it's white magic, but is it? You're asking the universe to give you something that if you were supposed to have it, you'd already have it. Think about it. So that's against the law of one, do no harm to any being. So I mean, if you're asking the universe, hey, I want that person over there who maybe never looks twice at you. I want that person to love me. So I'm going to get a locket of their hair, and I'm going to do these things. And so on a quantum basis, you're messing with stuff you really don't have any idea. And you think, well, it's white magic. I just want him to love me. I'm going to love him back and give him children. And yeah, but for some reason, if it was supposed to be natural, then why would you need to have a love potion or say anything? Why don't you clean yourself up? Why don't you do something with your own self? Create the spell with yourself. When I approach you, you will listen to me, or you will hear me, or you will see me. Not that it's a fall in love thing, but you're doing more energy work on yourself. So maybe your energy is too low. So what are you going to do? You're going to seek to look on the in the gray area of white or black magic. If it has to do with anything that affects another person's perception, especially if you're like, it's one thing, I'm going to wear different makeup, I'm going to wear a new dress, I want that person to notice me. That's magic in itself. But you're not casting a spell per se to try to influence the person. You're not trying to do these things. Well, there are people out there now who are doing this with intent, with purpose, and they're trying to get other people on board with it. Like, we're going to do this spell. We want Kavanaugh killed, murdered, raped, whatever. I mean, what? Now, the simple fact that these people have the intent that they want to create something to do him harm or to harm him and or his family or whatever, they don't understand they're cursing themselves. They're cursing their lineage, because women who practice these sorts of things leave a dark spot on the soul. And if they have children after that, those children will pick up some of that negative just because mama had it. And so they inherit some of that darkness that they never even subscribed to. It's the curse of the ages. It is when you use that dark energy, it ain't free. Somehow it's got to be paid back. And people don't realize what the consequences are. Now, I've studied this in many different realms and many different ways, and do your own homework. I encourage you. But like I said, if you get into, I mean, I had big tomes, big books, ancient books with spells in them. Okay, flipping through the pages and watching and saying, "Oh my God, I've seen that. I've seen that demon before, and I wasn't even trying to conjure the SOB. I know that one. Oh my God," and that's when I knew I already knew too much of the other side, and that the Mother Mary messages and the apparitions that I've had with her has been of pure white, pure light, pure goodness, pure, oh my God, you just want to just bask in it. It's so warm, cuddly, and fuzzy, and fulfilling is the best way I can say it. Just fills your heart. But anytime I dabbled in any kind of even white magic, I was like, I'm tampering with stuff. So I had to really, 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 because I'm like, no, I'm not going anywhere near witchcraft. Already done that. Studied it, conjured things, done spells. Okay, it's real. I get it. Don't want that. Not supposed to do that. That's not my calling. Now, that was back in the 70s, you know. And so, I'm 66 now. So that was very young in my life. Now, I have studied it, but not with the intent of I want to use this. I'm studying it because I want to see what other people are trying to do. Know your enemy kind of thing. So I've been studying witchcraft and conjuring and things because it has been done against me. I had some neighbors several years ago, and I won't get into too much detail. Well, I won't let any detail actually, but some people were staying with me. There was some kind of tryst going on between a guy and the neighbor girl, something, something. No, I mean, they're both in their 30s, late 30s, so it's not like they're youngins. But something was going on. They didn't like the fact that I was a shaman in training, that I was going to powwows, that I was doing ceremonies. I've been doing this for a long time, but it's just that the neighbor and the this and the circumstances came together all at one time because the neighbor didn't always live there. Okay. She came in, stayed for a couple years, blah, blah, blah. Things blew up. And quite frankly, right after my friends left here and things, she was like gone within 30 days. It was really weird. But at the same time, I found out through this gentleman's brother that they were actually doing active spells against me so that I would fail. They were actually calling entities. They were using the Ouija board to get the information on what spells to use against me. Now, that was about 5 years ago, more or less, around 2013 ish. So, yeah, 5 years. So, with that, hey, Rick and Delaney, stoking intent is no good. Yep. But so with that though, I'm like, I didn't know it, see, but weird things were happening to me, around me. I mean, stuff was breaking. I mean, and at the time, it was before I had the bad medicine meltdown that put me in a wheelchair and gave me seizures. Um, at the time, I was trying to establish a a home away from home for people, a campground. There's still down there on the river. There's a camp facilities and stuff, a circle, some amenities and so forth. And cleared it out and kept it up and everything. And we had different ceremonies and full moon. Not really parties, but sort of a mix of get together, but a full moon ceremony, And so nothing high tech or anything, but we were all there with good intent and so forth. And at one of the ceremonies that it was a big deal. As my shaman in training, it was like one of the first big events other than just myself. There's something still playing over in here. Welcome. You don't seem to be giving me any grief. Um, that whatever was going on, and basically the women, they just it separated four different families and three good friendships and almost split the actually I think it really did split the brothers up. So whatever they were conjuring and whatever spells they were doing, I still feel a residual to this day. There are times when I'm like, there's just something here. I didn't ask it here. I have not encouraged it to be here. When you see me on these videos, I'm always talking positive, how we look at these things, and so in my life, the last thing I want to do is to draw any negative to me, right? So it's an interesting thing for other people, but there's still just these odd things that happen, and I'm like, it's out of synchronous. It's it's the synchronicity of things. It's like it's just out of place. I've had some bad things happen, but I kind of saw that where things I did this had happened and I didn't do that, and it was like, yeah, well, okay, but you kind of saw it coming. Uh, it- there are things that have happened that just like it's there, it's wrong, right there. It's like what? I didn't invite you, It's sort of like the hurricane that came through. I didn't invite that son of a bitch to my house, but to the point. So these other people, though, that are doing the conjuring, they're doing more harm to themselves. They're doing more harm to those around them who aren't participating, because these people are drawing this dark energy in, because in order to get what they want achieved, accomplished, they must reach into the darkness, the bad darkness. Well, it's not bad till they use it, but to the point. So why are people so like, oh my God, we're going to do this because someone is so bad or so evil, we want to take them out. Folks who are just kind of playing around or tinkering with this, or they see it and they go, oh, these ladies are going to do a spell against Kavanaugh. Oh, witchcraft, blah, blah, blah. Let me tinker with it. Stay away from it. Please don't tinker. Don't tinker in these realms, especially now because of all the different energies. I mean, when orbs are appearing live on camera and other things are happening, and that spirit being that was on the camera yesterday, and it looked like there are no moths in my house. Whatever's flying across the screen is etherical. Okay, I'm here to tell you right this minute. It's not here between me and the camera, at least not physically, not in this 3D plane. This stuff is no joke, absolutely. And that's my earlier statement in this, is that I dabbled in it, I looked at it, and when I realized the shit was real, my spirit said, you don't want that on your soul. And you're damn right. And I still wonder if all the way back into like 75 or 6 or maybe 77, that when I was dabbling, if I didn't pull something through that somehow has has tinkered with my life, if you will, over the years. It's like, if I listen off of this shoulder, and anything that's being said out over here is good. This is spirit guide. If I'm hearing something over here on this side, it's usually the devil. It's like in the cartoons, angel and the devil. The angel's on this shoulder for me, and the devil's over here. Don't listen to this some bitch. That's how it goes for me. But with that said, what about these other people? What about these people who are like, well, I don't really know, or they want to dabble in it, or folks are doing Ouija boards still, Please, even if you're doing white magic, this is what I try to explain to people. To try to influence someone, you can do it yourself just by speaking to them or whatever. But if you're going to try to call upon the energies of the cosmos to get somebody to love you, help you, give you money, whatever that is, if it's not already natural, then you're playing with something that you say, well, it's white magic. My intention was good. Well, but was it intended for you to begin with? So what your prayer can be, without going through any kind of magic, is just say, show me. The answer is always there. Ask and it will be shown to you, if you will open your eyes to see it. Maybe the reason you're not getting a raise, you're missing something. Maybe the company you have really doesn't have another way to give you a raise without creating a new position. So what you need to do is think like the employer. I've done this, you see, and you have to go in through a different route. But I used my own magic. I used me, not some outside source. I asked Creator to give me insight so that I could achieve what I wished. But I didn't have to conjure something or say a spell to affect someone else. Well, but that's white magic. I wanted to raise. Yeah, but you're trying to influence somebody else. Use yourself to influence them, because you want them to see you for who you are. That's supposed to be the way. The love potion, and I mean, and I've tinkered and I've seen, there's still people I know that dabble with Wiccan stuff. And I think to myself, everything they're asking for It's if it's meant to be, it will be. So they're asking the universe to change or alter or something that is something unnatural. Because if it was natural, it would be flowed. So you're kind of forcing the issue. Now, I got to say, with even good energy, sometimes you got to push in a certain direction because there may be negative forces that are not allowing you to achieve what you should be. Or maybe there's something surrounding a person to where they, maybe they like you, but there's for some reason you won't date or go out, whatever it is. But the thing is that if you try to force the issue through another means, it will fail. Eventually, it will fail because you're calling upon an energy that if it was meant to be already, then so, and if it's meant to be, then call upon the good energy. And don't call it white magic, call it source energy. I'm using the source energy to show me how I might get this person's attention. I would like for him to like me. Maybe he's a son of a bitch, and the reason why they're not liking you back is because that person's not meant for you. But I like them. Oh, and I'm dreamy, and he's, all that. Well, guys do it to girls. Oh, I want her to love me. Oh, she's so whatever it is. And you might be a good looking person, you might have a decent job, but she might be a bitch. And or he might be an SOB. And so, but the point is that if it was meant to be, if the chemistry was there, then use the golden light, use the heavenly light. But if you try to force the issue, then you realize later on, holy crap, I got him. Now what the hell am I going to do with him or her? Oh my God, oh, she's beautiful, and yes, she's this, but oh, she's a bitch. Why did I do? And then you're stuck. And then at the same time, you have cursed yourself in further endeavors because you dabbled in an area you shouldn't have been dabbling in. You asked and coerced energies to get something done for you because you're being selfish, and that nothing is for free. If you're asking something that's not supposed to be and it comes to be, you know what I'm saying? So it's like payback's a bitch. And so people just don't get it. Well, and it's like, but now to the point, I sincerely think that the people who are doing the witchcraft and casting the spells, they know exactly what they're doing. They know they're drawing on the dark energy. They know they wish that dark energy to do evil for them, to eliminate a human being, to disperse of them, kill them. They don't know that they are cursing their own families, their progeny. And if they're young women and may have a child afterward, they're cursing the next child they have. They don't get it. They really, 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 really don't get it. So this, I thought this was going to be 30 minutes. I'm 48 minutes into this already. I'm like, but this information is true. And I've asked people, be careful. But it's Wiccan and it's white magic. If you're asking the universe to do something that's not natural on your behalf, it's no. Ask the energy to give you the insight. So if that person really should be your mate, then you'll figure out how to contact that person. You'll figure out how to if it's a guy, you say, hey, look, I want to buy you coffee. Would you go have coffee with me? Whatever it is, you ask Creator and they'll show you how to get it. And then they'll also ask at the same time, was this meant to be? Because the people that I've seen before, oh, I want him to love me. Well, then when they do, then it's like, but he's an asshole. Well, yeah, okay. You got what you deserve. Careful what you wish for. So if it's true, then ask the universe. Ask versus try to compel it or try to force it or to try to bend around to whatever. No. If there are obstacles in the way, ask Creator. If this is true, for me and the other person. Oh, it's all about me. I want him to love me. Yeah, but what about that other person? They have needs. Are you going to be able to fulfill them? You didn't ask them, did you? Well, but you want him to love you, and you're going to do all the things, but in your own mind, you think you can do what you want for him or her. But in reality, if it's not meant to be, there ain't nothing you can do to make the happiness there. That's how it ends up. And too many people are doing different. They're doing magical type things by trying to influence. Oh, go tell him that I blah 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 blah. That ain't it. See, you're going around. If you seriously want to get to know someone or whatever it is, then do it yourself. Do it. Ask for guidance. Ask for a prayer. Ask him to turn around so that you can smile back at him. That's a simple thing to do. You can do that in a crowd. If you stare at a person in the right way with the right intent, they'll turn around and look you dead in the eye. I've done it so many times. It was like, we would try to see, we'd go into a theater, and try to get people to turn around and look at us to see if it really worked. Oh my God. We'd get popcorn thrown at. Quit staring at me. Well, how do you know I'm staring at you? I just do. You're 10 rows away. How do you know I'm staring at you? But they turn around and look dead at you, So it's like, yeah, that stuff works. So you can get somebody's attention without, quote, using any kind of magic. It's just natural magic. You don't have to conjure anything. You don't have to put your soul on the line. But people who start doing these conjurings, and they're cursing themselves and their loved ones. I got to repeat that. It's important. They're cursing themselves and their loved ones. So it's not that they're wishing. They're wishing bad on another person. Oh, that's not good. But they have not a clue what they're. Well, I know what I'm doing. Yeah, but you know what you're doing to your offspring, to the DNA, to whatever, to your grandchildren. I mean, this stuff is some serious crap, and y'all are going to go curse him because you don't like his political opinion. Well, I don't like Hillary, but I'm not conjuring up demons because, well, Hillary's another story. She's got her own demons. She's protected by demons. So, but to the point though, is like, no, as much as I don't like a person, I'm not going to try to conjure up something to go attack them. But other people do. Other people think that it's cool. Other people, whether they really believe what's going on or not. I mean, the people up on the hill, she lost her job, she lost her income, she lost one of her kids. She lost her father that she had come back to try to regain his trust, blew that out of the water some more, ruined 2 other friendships, and split up 2 brothers. I mean, what? Are you serious? And that was all because of what they did in just several months' time. And I pray that whatever was said or done, that the residual will die off. I realized a couple of years ago that when I tried to do a ceremony, sure enough, honest to God, just me and Creator with a fire and some sage and my flute or whatever, just do a small ceremony of giving thanks, not asking for anything, maybe wisdom. That's probably the biggest thing I ask for when I do ceremonies, is the wisdom and the insight to be able to deal with things that come up. But, I'm never asking for money, or I'm asking prayers for other people. Please help or guide this person. Please help or heal this person. But I very rarely ask anything for myself. It's just who I am, and it's the way it should be. A priest or shaman shouldn't be asking stuff for the self. Because if you're a shaman, you understand you've already got the knowledge inside you to do some of these things. And you can ask on your own. You don't need a ceremony to do so. But anyway, and even in some of the ceremonies, I realized that there's nothing actually in there, but when you ask Creator to like guide or to help or to intervene, maybe like with somebody's drunkenness or or the husband's beating the wife, or the wife's beating the husband. I mean, it works both ways. Um, I know about that. But anyway, to the point though, it's like, so you want spirit to intervene. Well, how? Well, just protect this person. Don't let them get beat up, or, well, if to protect someone, maybe that means injuring the other party. So, there's some touchy areas. But the thing is that if you ask for protection for a person in all circumstances, but especially with their husband or whoever their abuser may be, boyfriend, girlfriend, in that, um, you to make sure that it's a good positive prayer, you kind of throw in the at the end, I wish no harm upon that person, but the person doing harm to my friend or brother or whoever I'm asking the protection of, I wish them to be protected, but I don't wish any harm to come to the person who's trying to do the harm. I know that's like really weird, but see, that makes your prayer clean. That makes your prayer pure, because then you're more likely to get the good guys to protect, and that there won't be any harm. However, it does happen, but to the point, it's usually up to the individual attacker that, they might get bounced off, and it's like, okay, you got your warning, and okay, boom, and they keep it up. Well, then it ends up, and there is no other way out of this. We got to beat the shit out of you for you to stop doing this. Okay. We're going to just have to hurt you. That's just all there is to it. And so sometimes it's like, well, we tried. But and that's like the aliens right now. They can't interfere with us until enough of us ask them to get their ass down here and help us. You know, but there are enough people waking up every single day. I'm like, oh my God, that person woke up to, it was just a little bit, but they woke up to it. Holy crap. And I had a wonderful conversation with my daughter last night on the phone. And I'm thinking to myself, and we're talking about Revelations in the Bible. She goes, Pops, we're at the end of Revelations, aren't we? And I was like, ding, 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 ding. She goes, me and my Bible study group, and we've been looking. She goes, we're at the end of this, ain't we? And I was like, yeah. And I said, but what does the rest of Revelation show us? There are 1,000 years of peace and harmony in the golden age. So yes, we may be at the end, but we're also at the beginning. She goes, they don't talk about that much. Everybody just talks about the ending. She goes, but Pops, you're the only person I know about that talks about, yes, this is the end, but look what's coming. And so I was so thrilled that my daughter was like, and it wasn't me telling her about Revelations, even though I've done videos on it. She arrived at it through her prayers, which has been my prayers. Please allow my daughter to see this. Please allow my daughter to see this. But I didn't ask for interference. I just asked for her to see it. And she has seen it on her own. And now that she looks back on it, she goes, well, damn, Pops, you were talking about this a year ago. I'm like, yeah, it's okay, but you caught up and you got it on your own. I may have planted the seeds like, well, damn, Pop says, we're in the middle of Revelations. Well, as a Christian person and one who goes to church, she's been studying with her Bible group, and they've all come up with the same conclusions. Yep, this is where we are. Son of a gun. How about that? And yes, and there are people who are like, you know what? They agree with me. I was like really floored about this one. I've been telling people, throw the Old Testament out. Oh, but Daniel said, screw him. I mean, okay. But what about, nah, forget it. Throw the Old Testament out. If you're trying to move into the new paradigm and drag that old book with you, you're tying a boat anchor around your neck. Okay. And I was so pleased to hear my daughter Jackie tell me, Pops, we don't read the Old Testament because it's not appropriate. We need to hear what Jesus said so we know where to go in the future. And I was like, What church is this you go to? Well, this is a little country church down in, in Panhandle, Florida, Alabama, down in this little corner down in there. And she goes to Sunday services, and it's an old biker group, and it's a bunch of old hippies and some redneck biker guys that used to beat each other to death all the time. And one of them is the pastor, and they only read the New Testament. They only read what Jesus said. And conversely, she's like, because I've said this for a long time. Don't read Paul. Please don't read Paul. There have been so many priests and other folks that just said, please leave Paul out of this. Everybody's like, oh, Paul this and oh, Paul that. Nah, cut him out. Forget it. Forget he existed. He fell off his horse and he bumped his head, and the rest of it's bullshit. But so, and I'm like, well, wow. So there are people around in churches who are seeing these things, which gives me hope in that, you know what? They're like, wait a minute now. We see what's really happening in today's society. They're reading the word and looking at it as they should. They're compassionate to one another. They help each other in this small community. I don't know, there's like 25 or 30 of them, husband, wife, blah, 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 and some of the kids, but they help each other out in serious situations and just to communicate. So it's like, yes, there are people out there. Yes, there are even small churches with congregations that are learning this. And yes, they are understanding greater and higher things. And yes, some of those same people in that church, they all believe in UFOs because they live down near Pensacola where there's a lot of stuff going on and they've seen stuff. So it's like, well, so they are Christians, in my opinion, in the true sense of the word, because they are following the word of Jesus, not Old Testament, not all a bunch of other stuff. And they are trying their best in this small community to do Christ type things. Beautiful. But now that's one of thousands. Okay. But the thing is they're there. So they're the opposition force to these crazy people going around and doing sigils on sidewalks and creating, effigies and, poking pins. And trust me, if them people, whoever these witches were that wanted to do this spell cast, they've probably got a voodoo doll. Okay. And if you're into any of that kind of stuff, then please, if you know somebody who's doing it, avoid them at all cost. Step back. Don't even get involved. You can say, you can warn them, and you should, because that's our responsibility. But if they try to like get onto you or try, that shit'll stick to you when you don't even think it will. Don't even get near that energy. If you suspect it, ask. If you suspect it and you can't prove it, then maybe your spirit is right. Maybe you should like back off, whoever that person is. There's just something creepy about him. I don't know. But, well, we're friends and we're working. I don't know, but there's something there. Trust your soul. Trust the universe. When you get these feelings, that's our warnings. That's the smoke alarm going off, for gosh sakes. Just saying. So in this realm now, I'm pleased to know that my granddaughter is even trying to get out of her situation. Nasty one is really nasty. But to the point though, it's like I've been praying to see results. I have been meditating, and if you've watched my videos, I'm always like, come on, the next step. Let's all move ahead in this. And I've just haven't gotten enough feedback from some folks. So I just keep my prayers there that they are making progress. Slow or not, make sure they're at least on the road, at least they understand, okay, I'm spiritual. Okay, you got it. All right, we'll work the rest out later. But for those folks who just refuse to even acknowledge it, they're like off to the wayside. And I mean, they're like, some of these folks, they're making remarks and stuff on Facebook stuff. And I'm like, you're crazier than I am. 5 years ago, I had all these visions, and I'm trying to tell people what's happening right now, by the way. And nobody wanted to listen. I'm just crazy, and everybody shut me down, literally. And so it's like, okay, but now these people are spouting off stuff that I'm like, it's twice as crazy as what my thoughts were. But they're like, but we should ask Hillary to run in 2020. What? Wait a minute. Have we not had enough of this? And these are people I went to school with, and they want to resurrect Bill and Hillary. And I'm like, and what? For some of these people, I think there's just no hope. They're just going to have to get slapped down with some kind of whatever for them to get it. It's an old farmer joke, but old farmers get it. The old farmer was out in the field, and a city slicker drove by, and he saw this farmer step up from behind the plow and go over to the fence, and the city slicker pulled over the side road to watch what the farmer was going to do, and he was pulling on his mule, and the mule just sat down. So the farmer went over to the fence row there and picked up something, went back over to the mule, and he tugged on the mule one more time. And then he heard the farmer yell, "Well, that's it then. I'm going to get your damned attention," and pulled out a 2x4 and whopped him right across the forehead. And the city slicker was like, went through the fence and ran out. "What are you doing? What are you doing?" He said, "Why, my damn mule." He said, "Mule's so stubborn, you got to get his attention. And sometimes a 2x4 is the only way to get it." And so it's an old country joke. But if you've ever stubborn as a mule, sometimes you got to use a 2x4. So some of these people, I think, just need to have a 2x4. And maybe they need to get hit 2 or 3 times. I don't know. But it just seems to me that whatever they're stuck in it. And so I continue to pray, but at the same time, now I'm starting to get information from different areas, different angles. Some of my relatives that haven't spoke to me in a long time are all of a sudden like, "Dave, I listened to one of your videos, but I didn't want to like it because I didn't want people to think." So there are people on my Facebook page who won't put like on it, but will admit to me over the phone that they've been watching my Facebook videos. So it's like, what? "Oh yeah, that one where you were talking about the UFOs and thing. Yeah, I watched that one. Oh my God." They wouldn't write a comment, wouldn't put a like down, wouldn't hit "I loved it," But over a phone call personally to me, they'll say, "Man, that was." So the feedback I'm getting with some of the stuff I'm talking about, I wasn't sure if it was getting through to anybody at all. It's not about awakening. It's just, let me put a thought in your head. Let me just consider this, And we've had this conversation before, Rick and the lady. I'll put my glasses on in a second. But to the point with this, going back to the Conjuring and everything, there are these people who really don't understand what the repercussions of what they're doing. It's not just the fact that they want some harm to come to another person. It's that the energy that they're tapping into to achieve what they wish is going to leave stains on their soul and their DNA, and it's going to affect the people around them. They don't understand the repercussions, the unintended consequences of what they do. They don't see it, don't get it. So I continue to pray for these people as well. And I'm just so excited to be able to, make a comment here that I'm seeing results from the prayers that we're making, and not just with my own family, but in little tiny corners here and there. People are waking up to things, and in a really wonderful, good kind of way. It's like I don't have to convince them that they're on the right track. I mean, it's like, some of the things my daughter, she's picked up on her own. And what I'll do is I say, "But daughter, did you know that this?" "No." "You mean?" "Yeah." "Well, the Pope is the Antichrist by definition. The Vatican sits on 7 hills. Did you know that?" "No, Pops, I didn't." You're kidding. And I was like, no, take a look at what some of the things in the Vatican. It looks like a serpent. No way. Oh, yes, way. And look at the thing that the sculpture in behind the Pope in this one particular conference room thingy. It's whoa, whoa, whoa. These people aren't dealing, they are, it is the Antichrist. The church is this big thing, and it's the Catholic Church, which is attached to other Christian religions as well. But to the point, if you're in Revelations and reading it, that's it. By definition, the Pope is the Antichrist, the anti, meaning he is the stand in for Christ on earth. It makes him the Antichrist by definition. And people are thinking, no, it's the guy against Christ. No, it's the guy that's representing Christ. He is the Antichrist. It's supposed to be spelled Ante, as in an antechamber, an extension of. And now it's spelled with an I, which means against Christ. And so this has been bastardized down through the years. But now people are starting to understand. They're like, honey, the Pope is the Antichrist because of the definition of when you look at it in the old terms. Oh my God. Then one of these ladies, we had this profound moment when we were having Bible study, and she said, what if it is the Pope? And I was like, she's right. Even priests are saying that the Pope is the Antichrist. Okay. I mean, come on. So we are in Revelations. We are at the end of the book, but certain things have to finish out. But what is facing us is 1,000 years. And my question is, why only 1,000? Why can't it be 1,000,000 years of peace and quiet? But, I'll settle for 1,000 years. But let's look at what our future events are going to be. The future events, yeah, we're in a shitty situation now, but hey, that hurricane came through and people around here got together. They were cutting trees out of the middle of the road when nobody asked them to. People were doing stuff and checking on me, and I was checking on other people. I mean, nobody asked us to do any of it. We just did it. And this was this outpouring of just being human, just being my neighbor. Okay, let's check, make sure you got something here. You got everything? Okay, if you need something, holler. Oh, okay, bye, thank you. But that's the way, country folk are. And there are country folk all over this planet, And so we go into the cities and we see how people want to eat each other alive. And there are good folks in cities, don't get me wrong. But I've lived in neighborhoods and stuff. And, I lived in a neighborhood where I only knew 2 people in a 4-block area. I know more people in a 4-mile area where I live now in the country. So, but to the point though, it's like, all right, I'm not going to do anything that I wish my ancestors upon me. So when I'm asking or praying or, seeking for guidance, I'm asking the good side. If I wish to intervene with something that's negative, show me how I can do this without harm. You'll get the answer if you'll pay attention. So there are good things coming. I'm proud to say it. I'll probably make another video and state some other things that I've seen. Well, I have fronted up Pope Francis in a lot of my videos. Yeah. I see the spirits flashing in your house. Yeah, they're all around, aren't they? And there's no moths flying. I mean, there's nothing here. Whatever is flying around in here is etheric, Blaze Paranormal. Hello. I'm not seen you before. Hi, how are you? Blessings to you. Let me go back up. Bill is not human. No, he ain't. My very first YouTube is Lizard-Eyed Bill. Drop verbal grenades in their minds. Yep. Yep. You pop caps and domes, capital letters, devastating the truth. Yeah. It is cool to watch other people wake up. It actually is, and there are people who it's like, you find this broadcast particularly interesting. Thank you, Blaze. I try to make them interesting. But people just don't understand that how much they're, I guess I got to say stupidity, but in a way, it's like, I mean, because I spent my early, 20s delving into witchcraft and demonology and so forth. I watched a master sorcerer. You talk about some freaky shit. Uh, Literally conjured an orange ball out of the wall. It came, circled around the room. And these people that I lived with at the time had a couple of Siamese cats, Linus and whatever the other one was. But anyway, and this thing flew around around the room, and the smell of a sulfur kind of burning was like in the room, brimstone kind of thing. And this sorcerer, and he excuse me, was a true source. He taught demonology and sorcery at the University of South Florida in Tampa. And the people that I had rented a room from, she was a psych major and also worked as an underclass, she was getting her doctorate degree anyway, but at the University of South Florida. And they had met and they'd come to a party. And so I'd met these people. That's when I was started to get into this thing. But he conjured this orange ball that floated around the room and landed on the floor. And the cats were like, ah! And then he went like this and it disappeared into a puff of smoke. And I mean, this was like 1971. But here's the interesting part. There was a spot, a circle about this big on the carpet. You couldn't see it. But the cats would never, ever, never, ever go by that spot. I remember we'd sit there, we'd be smoking a joint and being stoned, half a bottle of wine. Hey, let's see if Linus knows where the spot is. And he'd be sitting there, and we'd pick Linus up and toss him towards that spot on the floor, and you would see him go freaky deaky, all four paws, claws, legs going everywhere to try to avoid landing on that spot on the floor. Linus and his co-partner there they would go around. I mean, they wouldn't go with this close to that circle on the floor where that orb was. And I mean, for 2 years when we lived in that apartment, them animals would never go near it. And it got to be a joke with, hey, watch this. Want to see the cat kill himself in midair? I mean, it was cruel. And the cat shit on my bed one night too. After I did that, paid me back. But to the point, though, it's like, man, the residual of some of this stuff hangs on. I mean, when cats, 2 years after the incident, they still won't go. And I mean, we vacuumed the floor, we shampooed it, whatever was in that spot on that floor. It wasn't anything the cat saw. I mean, it's nothing that we saw or could sense, but it was something that the cats did see or whatever that other realm is. I've seen other people conjure things, and I mean, it's like electricity in the air. And I think to myself, well, that's really cool. That's a nice parlor trick. But at the same time, I could tell they had holes in their soul, because otherwise, how can you do this? Now, that was long before I knew dark energy, light energy, Wiccan, any of that. This was back in 71, 72, 73, going into 74 when I was still in Tampa. So I'm hanging around with people who are doing ceremonies. I'm in with people who are full witches' covens. And I realized this. And I'm like, I was in some of these things, and I'm like, I'm not sure if I saw what I saw, but I know I don't want to see it again. And I realized that when I moved up here to South Georgia, I wanted to continue my studies, but then I realized I had somehow inadvertently drugged something with me from Florida. And that when I started to try conjuring on my own, I realized there was a sincerely dark, crappy entity that was in my area, and meaning my spatial reality. And that I didn't ask it, but it came along because I was dabbling in those arts. Not a good place to go. So, I continue to warn people. I continue to pray for folk. Please don't do this, And once you get sucked into it, if you don't have a Mother Mary moment or the angels step in to keep you from keep you from to help you avoid getting any further into it until you don't, there's a point when I guess you could say it's a break point. It's like you've had too much to drink, and you should say no to the next two beers, but you don't, and you hesitate, but then you give in or whatever. Well, it's like that. You kind of know that maybe you've had enough of this and you shouldn't go any further, but the next thing you know, you're drunk. And the next thing you know, you've had two beers, and then you don't remember what happens after that. You wake up the next morning in somebody's bed you don't know. Okie dokie. So that's kind of what happens with this magic and these things. You get so far into it, it's like, well, I really ought to back out. But the pull is such, and it's not like, well, to some people, it drags them in. But to others, it's a lot more subtle. To me, it was like, well, maybe not tonight, maybe next time. Well, okay, maybe now. I've had enough of this for now. Yeah. But the thing is that I realized that I remembered what it was like having four beers instead of six. I still remember what that feeling was. So when I was invited to do something again, I was like, I'm busy. I think I'm gonna, hang up my Wiccan hat and my witchcraft thingy. And I think I'm not going to join your coven after all. Thank you for the invite, but I'm, going to stay on my own over here. And so that's what sent me on my journey as a shaman, out of witchcraft, out of demonology early on in the 70s. But I saw so much shit in those first, from 70 to 79. There were things that I saw in that period of time in my life where I had contact with people who had some serious contact in the demon witchcraft, and I'm not lying kind of shit. People say, oh, well, I did this little spell. No, when you see an orb appear in the freaking room, and it wasn't an hallucination, and if somebody said later on, they say, well, he was mind controlling you. Well, okay, fine, but then how come the cats wouldn't go across the floor for 2 years after it happened? Do you explain that one to me? Well, but he mind controlled the cats? What? It's only that one spot. You can throw them anywhere else in the house, but it's only that one spot they'll kill themselves to avoid. So, I understand where your logic is coming from. And we all sat down, and those of us sitting on the sideline going, did he just really do that shit? Well, the smell was in the air and the cats were freaked out. And yeah, well, but 2 years later, we're still going, yeah, cats, they had to move out of the apartment. It was that bad. I mean, the cats just continued to stay freaked out. And Siamese cats are at least the ones that I've known, they stay freaked out all the time on their own. They don't need help. But, but people who want to delve into this and I tinkered and it was interesting. But when you really see some of that shit come true and come out of the wall at you or grab your soul and you feel your soul being tugged out of your body, it's too late for most folk. And so you must have, and the only way around this is that you're going into you're using dark energy. There is no light about this because you're asking wherever these entities are, if they're in the fourth dimension or if they're in another parallel universe. I'm not so sure about that. I know that in the astral plane in the fourth, there are all different kinds of entities, and that things use the astral plane fourth dimension to get around in. So do they reside there? I can't answer that one. There is in my opinion, there is a hell of souls. And I don't think it really exists in a way that you could think of, other than think of a black pouch where the dark energy is in the universe. It's huge. It's bigger than the sun. It's a huge pouch, but it's black. It's dark. You can't see through it. It keeps things from shining through it. In that black pouch is hell. It's where all the dark things reside. Okay. And so they don't necessarily reside everywhere, but the black pouch can be anywhere. I know that's a weird one, but it's like the black pouch is can be anywhere. You can reach into that black pouch if you understand how to reach into that dimension. But it's the black pouch dimension. It's not everywhere. So people who see entities from other realms and things, they're demons. They automatically now there's some ugly aliens, and I'm one of them. Okay, I'm an ugly ass alien myself. But to the point though is like, where am I to judge? You know, some of these ugly things in our appearance aren't not necessarily evil beings. And sometimes, I mean, I've seen the smiliest, prettiest, hands done, hair back, and be the most evil sons of bitch in your life. So just saying, appearances aren't everything. But if somebody sees something, that it must be from the demon realm. In my experience, it's I've walked in both realms. I mean, I spent 3 days on the river. I've spoke about this in other videos, and I had a spirit being on either side. It's the only way I made it through them 3 days. There is no other explanation in my book, but to the point, no food, no water, stuck on the river for 3 days, and I come out smelling like a rose. Okay, fine. But to the point, though, in that I understood that this was positive energy helping me through the darkness. But the darkness wasn't evil. And simply because these spirit entities were in the darkness didn't mean that they were evil either. Because everything they showed me taught me is to help other people to avoid the dark entity negative crap. So this pouch of negative or the demons or whatever, I have this vision in my head. It's unseen, but it can be accessed from any part of the universe. So we could be 4 galaxies away and still be able to reach our hand into this hell pouch, if you will, because that's where these demons' energies reside. Now, that's just my opinion, but I've tested it out. Like, do these demons exist everywhere? And it was like, no. Well, if I see something, in the spirit world, is that a demon? No. Is there something I saw in the astral plane? It was weird looking, but there wasn't anything evil coming off of it. So, but when I have been to these ceremonies and have seen evil things appear that, like, people would faint, the hair on you just stood up on you, and you go, not again. I don't want this shit no more. And then there were those people who were like, yeah, more, more. And I was like, get me the F out of here. So, but everybody reacts in different ways. Now, so that's what makes the world go around. But to the point, though, it's that I think hell is a place. And I think that there is a demon realm and it coexists within other dimensions. But I don't think it is the other dimension, if that makes any sense. Now, like I say, I can't prove this worth shit. But to the point, though, in my own mind, I've been like, well, but I've seen things in the universe. I've experienced things in the universe. And, there are oddball things, but they're not evil. They're just oddball. But now I know there's an evil realm because I've, tried to put my finger in it so many years ago, and I've seen other people do it. So, yes, it exists, but I don't think it's everywhere. But I do think you can access it from almost anywhere with the right tools, etc. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense. Let me put my what do I do with my glasses? I want to read your comments. Um, what do you think about some of who use radio waves to try to contact entities in the astral place? Are we in serious danger? I think it has to do with our intent. However, if you're talking about the spirit radios plays, Tesla messed with that. And there are entities and things. Now, but to the point though, it's like, and I have played around with it. I mean, I used to listen to the snow back when I was a kid. You know, I mean, I built crystal radios and stuff as a Cub Scout back in the '60s. You know, so and listening to old AM stations with a lot of static and stuff. It was what I did. And there were times that I would hear things that's like, that ain't the radio station. But that was before I knew about spirit radio. And so now there are folks who are, trying to tune into these things. Why do you want to listen? So let's go back to intent. So if you want to hear a spirit being, okay, do you want to hear any spirit being? Do you want to hear all spirit beings? So if your intent is, I want to hear, I'm listening to Channel 19 on the interstate and it's breaker 19, blah, 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 blah. And anybody comes in and, okay, fine. Now, with that said, though, maybe you could also, with your intent, say, I wish to only hear good entities. So you put your request to the universe. So any entities of the goodly kind, then you would be inviting them in versus just tweaking the dial to see if anything's out there. So I would first put an intent to the universe to help you get your intention. Now, at the same time, I always give this caveat because sometimes somebody will say, and I'm speaking in the spirit world, some of these demons will go, I can play good. DVD, devious, ha ha ha. Watch me, I'll pretend I'm good. And so, but if you say, but, I wish to contact good spirits and any evil spirits should go away. So you say, well, I want good ones to come in, but then there's the devious ones that are going to, well, I'm going to fake you and I'm going to make you think I'm, nah. You got to tell the evil ones to stay away. Invite the good ones and tell the bad ones to take a seat. And do it simply. I made a mistake many years ago in my shamanic training. I kind of got a little forceful with some of the negative energies in my area of abode at that time. I was in the woods and doing some ceremonies. And I was like, you negative spirits, get out of here. You're not welcome. Go away. I'm stronger than you. And then I got my ass kicked by the spirits. And I was like, I stand up, I'm all bloody. Okay, I'm Hawkeye Two Feathers. I'm the strong. Got beat up again. 3 days later, I crawl out of the woods, and it's like, that wasn't the one this was another one. And it was like, well, better be careful. And I was just trying to, quote, assert my authority. And some of those beings that I was telling, you're not welcome here, were like, watch this, Hawkeye, beat the crap out of me. Oh, spiritually, mentally. I mean, I was like, I had to take a step back. And not only something just went by again. Boy, there's a lot of activity the last couple of days here. Just saying. So, Blaze, I hope that made some sense. I think there are ways to hear the astral plane without interacting with the astral plane. So, listening in to people on Channel 19 on a CB radio was my reference. If that is something, you're just listening in. But if you key that mic and go, breaker 19, this is the green ghost here, blah, blah, blah. What's your marker? Now you have become a participant in it. But if you're just kind of eavesdropping, it's different than being involved. So, and also with your intent. So if you intend to listen to the stuff, put your prayer out first. I will be protected from anything that I hear. I wish only good entities to respond to, and I wish any evil entities to just stay off the air. So state your case, put your intent out there and mean it. And at the same time, though, then that will help. It's helped me to narrow down getting rid of the nasties because I said, well, okay, show yourselves to me. Well, then you don't know what's going to come. But if you say, okay, all you good spirits, show yourselves to me. Well, now you've narrowed it down. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I hope that made some sense. Yeah, don't need any extra craft. If you dabble with things you know nothing about, you're bound to spill some spirit shit. You're absolutely right. And uh, there are so many things. Um, you got ectoplasm stain, bad stain. Yeah, on your soul, you do. Can't clean spirit stains without resolve. Well, you got to get the extra strength resolve that's being used on the astral plane. You got to get the astral resolve. By the way, now don't be sorry for jokes. I mean, even in the poorest even in the poorest situations, an offhanded joke sometimes are good. Uh, I ask questions and try to get responses. Yes, yes, but again, Blaze, be sure that with those questions, though, you set up your parameters first. Now that I can't stress this enough because in my shamanic training, they always say, your protection is you state what you want. You state ahead of time. You state before it happens. I am protected. I will be protected. I will continue to be protected. I mean, you don't just put it in the present or, yeah, I'm okay and put a shield. No, you fortify it. You say it again. You repeat it 3 times. Use the three, the power of three. And then you say, okay, so you make your request. I wish to, I'm going to ask you a question. Will you give me an answer? I wish only positive entities to respond to me. Only positive entities need apply, and you can say, I realized that, in personally, in my forcefulness to like keep the bad guys away, they showed their strength and beat the shit out of me. So it's like, so be careful. So what I've learned is as long as you put the request out there, look, you bad guys, you're just, I don't want you to apply, please. Rather than if you apply, I'm going to whip your nest. No, can't go there. No, you got to use the light. So with the light energy, with the brightness, you say, you guys out there, I'm sorry, you may have an opinion, but I'd rather not hear from you. Now, here's the clincher to this one, Blaze, because I've played in this area before. It may be the dark entities that have the answer, though, to the question you're asking. There may not be a good entity around that has the answer to what you seek. So sometimes you got to listen to some of the bad guys and understand there's deception in there. They're going to tell you something, but you got to hold it with a grain of salt. You got to hang on to it until you get other proof. That's what I do with some of the orbs and things that I've taken pictures of. I'm like, okay, guys, you orby people here, you got to show me. You can't just do this one. You got to give me some proof here. You want me to talk about it? And okay, so in all of my learning and speaking with these entities, and speak out loud, don't think it, say it, because when you speak it to the universe, there is so much magic in our speech, in what we say. That is our intent that we push to the universe. So just thinking a prayer ain't the same as saying it. Or thinking a thought about, well, I want this entity to, I got to ask it. Ask it very simply. If it's a 3-part question, ask 3 different questions. Don't ask, well, if this is, and then, stick to simples. Is this yes or no? Yes or no questions are good. Yes. No. If you're asking for something that requires a lot of speech, there it gets garbled. So, what you ask is just as important as the answer you may get back, especially when you frame it correctly. Be very careful, be very methodical. Go do it, try it, put yourself in the protective state. Okay, I got my shield on. Go through your normal things if you're going to be dabbling in other realms. But at the same time, be very specific. And this actually applies to everything. If you're asking the universe for a question, don't ask it a 4-part question that's a paragraph long. I mean, I listen to Simon Parks and different people, and the people who call in, they've got 3 pages of question. It's one question with 4 or 5 different parts. And he's like, hang on, first part first, and it's like, so there are folks who are asking the universe questions in 4 or 5 different parts, and they're like, well, I'm not getting a straight answer. That's because you didn't ask a straight question. Ask a straight question, ask for A, and then wait. Because if you're waiting on the answer of A because you got a follow-up question, and then after B, then you got a C follow-up question, go with A and wait. Then if you get the answer, whether you like it or not, then ask question B or the follow-up. But if you try to go, well, I want to know this and that and blah, blah, forget it. Forget it. It's too much. It's going to get garbled in the translation. You want a clear answer. So ask a simple, clear question and then wait for it. It's the best way to get the answers back. When I was doing Ouija a long time ago, I don't know who this person was, but they knew about spiritual realm, and it was early in the 70s and so forth when I was learning how to dabble in this witchcraft business. But to the point, it was like, ask a simple, direct question. Don't muddy it up. In anything that you do, if you were doing white magic, you would say, I want this, not this, and I want some flowers, and then have him bring me nah. You want a date with a guy, then ask for a date for a guy. Period. Don't ask for flowers and go to the movie. No, I mean, it's just ask for a date. Period. If I was thinking of this one person was always trying to get love dates and stuff, and I looked at her and I was like, why don't you just clean yourself up? Why don't you just make yourself presentable? Why don't you just be a good human being and go ask the guy, you know? But anyway, but to the point, they had to dabble in this stuff. But anyway, so what else was? I watched her vids and sweetie, stop talking to them like they are stupid. You speak to the spirits like they are in the special ed class, like they ride the short bus. That's why you don't get answers. Yeah, I'm not so good with thinking of questions to ask. Okay, before I read Rick's comment, then I pretty much answered the same question. You have to formulate it ahead of time. You can't just, well, I got this idea here. What about this? No, plan it out, but do it. Because the more you use your intent, and like you say, well, say I'm sitting here right now, Blaze, and I'm saying, well, tomorrow I think I'm going to try some spirit radio. So by speaking it out now, I don't have any intention, but I'm giving you an example. I'm speaking of it now. So I'm setting up the verbal communication to the universe. I'm going to try spirit radio tomorrow. Okay. I wish to ask some questions. Another intent. So when you say these things out loud and you put them to the universe, you're putting your wish forward. So that anybody out there might be listening is going, well, tomorrow at 12, Dave's going to do a spirit radio. But to the point, it's amazing what happens when you put your intent out ahead of time, because that's part of the shaman training. That's part of being very spiritual. You put your intentions out way before you ever get there. The shaman training that I had, we started 2 days before a ceremony in preparation, in in getting our thoughts together to ask the question, if you will. But at the same time, we knew we were going to ask a question in the ceremony. So we started formulating the ceremony 4 days before we performed the ceremony. So it got the spirit kind of going and sort of a build-up kind of thing. So when we actually performed the fire ceremony or the full moon ceremony, whatever the ceremony is or was, that you had all this energy to build up with it. And now it's like, poosh, you let it loose into the universe. But it also gives the entities, whoa, Hawkeye is working on this. He's going to do this full moon ceremony. So I'm gathering spirits as I go in the 2 days before it. I'm in prayer. I'm in meditation. Now, I know this is really pushing it, but to the point of listening in on something, you use the basic same concept. I'm going to do the radio tomorrow. Okay. You don't have to specify what time, just tomorrow evening. Okay. But you put it out to the universe so that if there's an entity that's like, I want to talk to Blaze. How about that one? Okay. And then you say, well, all right, so there are questions of the universe that I want to ask. Well, simple. And Rick, I've not listened to her videos, but to the point, yes, you can't treat them stupid, but you got to make it simple. And the reason you have to make it simple is so that the answer will be simple. It's not that you treat them as dummies or that the reason for, whatever the question is of the universe, well, if you're asking for, now, if you're going to ask a silly question, you're going to get a silly answer. Just say it. Well, is my boyfriend going to leave me? Forget it. If you want answers from the universe, then ask appropriate questions, but ask them in a single sentence. Do other realms exist? Well, if you're listening to the spirit radio, you kind of already do believe, but you're asking a question that's like ought to be obvious, but not. But it's a simple question, and it's not that you're asking anything that they're stupid. You say, but are you of the spirit realm? Are you of the fourth dimension? Can you tell me where you are? Follow-up question. Can you tell me where you reside? Do you know how to explain this to me? And don't, ask, then listen. If you don't get an answer, ask the same question, okay? Because then you haven't made contact, all right? So, and the reason the simple question is so the answer, I mean, I've listened to different things, and when the answer is too long, the message will get garbled not only in the radio, but also in the astral plane. In them trying to formulate words through the different dimensions, things get twisted up. So you might not get the answer might have been correct, but you didn't hear it through the garble. Okay. So simple answers will get a more direct, simple questions will get a more direct answer. I almost had it right. But simple answers will get direct, simple questions back too as a follow-up. So now you can now here's another trick to this. If the entity is speaking to you through the spirit radio, take this one step further. They've contacted you. They could very well be in the room with you. Now you've already established a connection, whether it's a clear one or not. Here's the thing. In the quantum realm, which we're a part of, once that connection is made, with your hearing, with your ear, with this 3D, you're also now connected in the quantum. So you can ask a verbal question to the radio and think a backup question to that. So I would say, do you reside in the fourth dimension? And in your mind, you could be thinking, or the fifth or the sixth or something like that. You might get an answer on the radio that says yes, And in your mind, you're going to get a follow up answer that says, I reside in the seventh dimension or whatever. And you go, where did that come from? So if you are, we're talking sincerely awareness here now, okay? Because when you hear it, you are connected. As soon as that you hear that spirit voice that answers your question, you're already connected on the quantum. You're already there. You don't have, he's got whoever that person, entity, whatever it is, they've got your frequency. And they're using the radio to reach your 3D world. Now, take it a step further. Allow yourself to understand that they can contact me this way too. So you ask a verbal question with your voice, simple answer, but a follow up, and you may get an image. A lot of stuff that I get, it's sort of like in a picture form. It's like 2 or 3 pictures, and they relate to each other, but there's like crap loads of information in those pictures. Pictures worth 1,000 words. Well, yeah. So a lot of people are describing some of their downloads as these picture images kind of, or a scenario. It's like sitting in a park and people are playing a scenario. Okay. Well, but so with the question that you ask, and keep your focus on that. Don't jump around and go to the next one. You got to stay focused on it. But the follow-up question you may not have spoken it, but it's your thought. So if you are making that connection, then the entity will also answer the mind question. Does that make sense? It's creepy, but when it happens, that's why you want to make sure you're asking for the good guys. You're asking for a positive entity. You're asking for, maybe a relative of yours. If you ask more specifically rather than anybody out there, it's like breaker 19, anybody out there come back, be more specific. And you're going to get a more specific result out of it. And this works in prayer. It works in shamanism. This works, I would venture to say, not necessarily guarantee, but that this is a universal thing. That when you put your intent out there, you put your thought out there, you put your, there is this a flow of things, if you will. Okay. I don't want to necessarily it's sort of like there's an order to things, you put out a positive and you follow it with this, and it's not really a formula per se, but it is. There's certain things when you follow them, your results will be better. Good. I'm glad this is helpful for you. Thanks for the link, Blaze. That has happened to me a few times in the past when I heard something speak to me in my head, but not that often. Well, that's the point. And it takes practice. And because sometimes you might get an answer in your head and you didn't know you got the answer. And it may come out in a dream later on. Because I've asked for things and there was like a little click, like a flash of light, but there wasn't anything in it. But then the answer didn't come out until like 2 or 3 days later in a dream. And I was like, wait a minute, but that was 4 days ago. Oh shit. That's it. Oh, that's what they were talking about. So whatever the download thing was at the time didn't match anything. And it's like, well, I guess they didn't answer me. But later on, like I say, maybe the download took some time. I needed to process it in my own brain. Not sure how this stuff works. I'm still working that part out. But the thing is there are formulas that I have tried, tested, and I'm still working with. And I know these things to be true and that they work. And other people use them because they were taught to me. So it's like, okay. And there's not many places that I've seen that discuss the way I'm talking about some of these items. Not to say that I'm like the guru of all gurus. That's not the point. It's the point is that I've not heard anybody talk in the realm in the way that I do about some of these topics. That's all I'm saying. And that there is any kind of order to it, that, oh, just go ahead and do it. Oh, well, burn some sage. Well, yeah, burning the sage is fine, but if you don't say like a protective spell around you, it's just something burning in your house. You got to use what you got, and you got to use it with efficiency. So, keep your prayers simple. Keep, so the answers that you wish to receive will be simple. But also at the same time, if you're seeking an answer, maybe you're not ready for the answer. That's also in the mix, because I know there were times I'm like, why don't you show me what this shit's about? Show me, damn it. I'm confused. Straighten us out. And no answer. And it's like, why are you people not listening to me? You answered that prayer and you answered this one, and what's wrong with this one? How come? And it and they're very kind to me, a little stubborn sometimes, because I am. And I think it's to prove a point to me in my journey. It's like, we're not going to say a damn word, Dave, because you just need to shut up and listen. And for whatever reason, I'm asking to have whatever question it was I was asking at the time. I wasn't prepared. I was either asking out of anger. There was something that was not right. When I reformulated, when I went back and asked the same question in a different way, maybe it was with a different vibration of myself, I got the answer. But I didn't get it when I thought I should have it. That's a big thing. I want it now. You got the answer. Frickin' tell me. I asked you. And then the spirits on the other side are going, who is this asshole think he is? Want that answer right now. What answer should we give him? Hey, Frank, we're going to make one up for this asshole. What lie should we tell him tonight? Just saying. Spirits have fun too, by the way. They got a sense of humor. Sometimes a little on the rude side, but they got a sense of humor. I did hear the word shut up very loudly when I was doing a session with a manual tune radio a couple of days ago. Well, it might have been they were trying to tell you something. And the thing is if they tell you to shut up or whatever, and you persist, you're just going to piss them off, whoever that entity might be. So there's got to be some even in the nasty world, in the evil side, in the witchcraft side, you still have to have respect for these demons, otherwise they'll gobble you whole. But with the positive energy, if you're looking for something and somebody says, shut up, okay, this must not be the time to answer that question. Okay, have a nice day. And leave it. Maybe you should have shut the radio off. Maybe there's some frequency, maybe there's something, maybe there's an entity out there that's trying to get in and harm you. You may not know what the reason is, but you should respect it. Because when you push your luck, well, that's when weird stuff happens. Just saying, been there, done that, So, and the thing is that you'll know at the time. It's like if they said shut up, or was that just something that's like, no, I said shut up. Well, then click, turn it off. For real, That me, I want it now, but over time I quit being so demanding. Absolutely. And that's one of the, to be a shaman is patience. Because there are times when, like with the Conjuring, well, I'm going to, eye of newt and, the wing of a beetle and, 2, Brussels sprout roots and I'm going to stir this up, spit in it twice, and it's going to happen immediately. Some things happen that way. But to those of us, what we think we expect the answer immediately, sometimes it's too complicated. I've realized over my shamanistic training that it's that, There are questions I asked 30 years ago that are just starting to become clear now. And I've met it. I mean, I went outside and kicked the dirt and said, "Look, you showed me this shit 30 years ago. Now what the hell's going on? I mean, you're pissing me off now. You know, this is my prayer, guys. What does this mean? Patience, Hawkeye. Damn it, I've had, it's been 30 years. Patience, Hawkeye. Ah, shit. Okay. And then maybe 2 days later, my stomping my foot, I didn't get the answer then. And then very calmly later on, I might be like, I realize that I really want the answer to this question. I realize that it's been on my mind a long time. I realized I was probably being a little too antsy the other night because I want the answer to this question. I realized I was being impetuous. And then all of a sudden, as I'm saying, I realized that I was doing this. All of a sudden, the answer is like slipped in real quietly under the door. Because the reason they didn't give me the answer was because I had to realize I was being impetuous. I was being rude. I was trying to push an issue when they keep telling me to be patient. Well, screw patience. You know how us humans get. But to the point, though, it was like that was part of the lesson. We just wanted you to be patient a little longer, and instead, you went outside and kicked the dirt. What Mother Earth have to do with it? Well, but I deserve answers. I've gone through all this, and they're going, yeah, but not yet. If you've trusted us this far, was sort of like my messages. If you've trusted us this far, Hawkeye, what's one more day? There is no answer to that. Well, I've been at this for 40 years or more. What's one more day? Well, that's true. But when I become impetuous and, and demanding that I'm that demanding child that wants another cookie, nah, sorry, not now. Going to ruin your dinner. So there are things in the universe that it may be in your soul contract, for example. I know I kind of went back through mine, and some things were explained like, the reason we wipe your memory is because there's so much crap we put in there, it would drive you mad. So when you are, when I'm MIA around here for a day or two, and I don't know where I've been. I mean, it's like I slept through Sunday. I have no idea where yesterday went. I mean, not a clue. But it's like I'm awake now. It's 3:00 in the frickin' morning on the East Coast over here, and I'm like, I woke up at 1:00 in the morning, and they want me to do a frickin' video on this, and I was dead asleep. I couldn't even go outside today. I was just so tired and whatever it was. But now it's like, okay, we've got a message for you, Dave. We want you to do this video. This is the topic. Here's the thing. And I guess sleeping all day today, they were giving me downloads about this topic because that's usually how it works. But to the point, I used to fight it. No, be patient. Why did I get knocked out for 2 days? Because we gave you a download and it's going to take a little time for this sucker to come out. Just be patient. So it's a really good rule. Now, there are times when flood waters rising that you can't be patient. You got to make a decision. But, in the grand scheme of things, when we ask the universe for an answer, does it have to be answered immediately? Is now for us, maybe there's extenuating circumstances in that other dimension. We don't know. That's why we're asking things. So it might be that the spirits are in the middle of a battle or something. Who knows? Maybe they're on the John and they're looking for toilet paper. I mean, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is that if we don't know what the other side is and what's going on, and we're on our side over here demanding shit, we don't have the right. You know what I mean? So we got to just be respectful. Expect respectful things in return. When we're respectful to the universe, that energy comes back on us. That's how it works. So when you want an answer, ask, ask politely, ask with kindness, compassion, etc. And if you don't get it right away in your own expectation, you may have gotten the answer. Like I just said, it just might not show up for a couple of days or a week or a month, or maybe they didn't answer you. Maybe it's in a dream and you failed to look at it. Maybe your awareness isn't aware enough to accept the answer that they actually gave you. You may have just simply missed the damn thing. There's been a time or two where I was like looking for something, but and was kind of given a heads up, like, we're going to give you a download. You okay? Kind a couple days later, well, where's the download? Well, we already gave it to you. What? You already got the download. When? The other day. We told you it was going to give it to you. Yeah, well, but I didn't feel anything. Yeah, but you got it. And then some bitch later on that day or that night, I'm in meditation or whatever, daydreaming, looking out at the clouds or something, and boom, there it'll come. And I'm like, son of a bitch, there it is. But my mind, for some reason, it was in there. There's a delayed reaction, and it may be that my internal workings or whatever are mulling this out so that when the entire plan or download or whatever thought or the answer was, it comes across in a way that I can understand versus a bunch of alien gobbledygook that goes, and I go, what the fuck was that? I don't know what that was, So how can I understand it? So it may be that each one of us has our little download periods. That the answer needs to get, go through it's an encrypted message. Maybe, I don't know. I know that there are times when it's been a real funny conversation with me and my spirit guide. Like, but you told me, and you got it. But when? The other day. And then I do my little reflection thing and go, oh, that's what that, shit. And then it'll come back to me. And it might have been a thought in a passing thing while I was watching a movie. It may have been some little obscure thing, but that was the download. That was it. And I wasn't aware in my own reality that it was there. So sometimes the answer's there, we don't see it. We're not aware of it. It's not that we are not aware beings, but that it may be at that particular time, it was slipped under the door and the dog picked it up and took it to the next room and the cat peed on it and the maid picked it up and threw it in the garbage. I mean, who knows? But the thing is that if we're patient and if we don't think we've gotten the answer, then we should politely say, I'm asking this question again. You may have given me the answer, and I may have missed it. What is the color of the inside of my eyeball? I don't know, whatever the question is, but it looks blue from in here, anyway. So I've been at this over 2 hours, and a Bruce Fry. Oh, put my glasses on. Yes. That one now, I seem to find the nasties, and they have tried to fight me in dreams that seem so real at times. That's because it probably is real, Bruce. Seriously. And especially here recently, and I mean within the last several years, there are so many negative entities and energies. And the ones that are here, the ones the galactics are fighting. But the other thing is, it's the silly, and I gotta say stupid, because I was stupid at when I dabbled in the witchcraft demonology thing. Oh boy, was I stupid. And I can call other people stupid, because if you don't know what you're doing and you dabble in that mess, you're being stupid. Because you just don't understand what the consequences are. And so there are people doing stupid shit all over this planet. And it's having an effect in areas that the rest of us, we're, fighting demons on the astral plane. We're having, fisticuffs with things, These things are manifesting themselves in our dreams, in the other realms. I mean, And these people are like, well, I'm going to do a witchcraft spell and we're going to do a, because they don't know any better. So we continue to say prayers for these people. And we say, forgive them, Lord, for they don't know what they do. But stop their ass the next time they try to do something stupid like that, please. You know, we don't want to harm them, but we want you to stop them. Reach your hand down out of the sky and stop that bitch from doing that, incantation or something. Hey, intervene. All right, you all. I love you much. I haven't any breakfast or supper, and it's 3 in the morning. And I've got old timer's disease, meaning I got to go pee, and I got a butt cramp. So I will end with this. I will end with this prayer. Bruce, I'm glad you understand. I try to make things in where hey, I think of things out of the box, but I try to bring it around as like maybe in something that I say and speaking in the way that I do, it will just help you to understand in your own way that you will get it. You enjoyed yourself. Thank you. Thank you. You're very welcome. I blessings to all of you. So my prayer is simple. I wish and pray that all of you will accept and receive the blessings and the healings and the knowledge from source, from the universe. I pray that each one of you will accept and receive these good energies, these good teachings, and the wonderful knowledge of the universe. It's always there. Source is always present. The quantum is always on. It's always present. And so I pray that all of you will find your answers, ask the correct questions with the right frame of mind, and keep it in your heart. If it's something in your heart that you need to ask about it, Source, Creator, and the universe will hear it. So much love to all of you. I love you, love you, love you. I do. It's not a joke. And I don't say that just to butter y'all up. And I never ask for likes or shares, but thank you for what you do, because my message comes from the universe and I'm just the messenger. I'm just a person who has conversations with you. And let's have a good joke about it too and laugh about some of this shit because some of it is plain stupid, but it's serious at the same time. Take care. Much love to all of you. Mary, you as well. So good morning, good night, wherever you are. Until next time. So be safe, okay? And keep them other folks in your prayers. We got this. I see things happening every single day that things are getting better. So keep the faith, y'all. What it be sweet. I love y'all. Bye, 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 bye.